Good evening and a very warm welcome to the final whistle. I'm Kenzie Benali.
And I'm Steve Forbes.
Well, for the first time since 1997, Southampton have beaten Everton in the league at Goodison Park thanks to a James Ward-Prowse brace. We certainly enjoyed that one here, didn't we? And I'm sure so too did Adam Leach and Dean Hammond, who are back with us to talk about the match. Dean, we'll come to you first. What was your thoughts on that Southampton performance?
Excellent, Kenzie. Very, very effective, I think is the word I'd like to use. Apart from the conceding from a set play, I don't see any other disappointments. I could see what how the team were trying to play. I could see the game plan. There was a real togetherness. I thought the team defended as a unit very, very well today, and responded brilliantly as well. Couldn't have had a better start in the second half, and to get back into the game and then had the ascendancy and looked the stronger team. Brilliant counter-attacking football. Like I say, defensively looked really, really strong, and two excellent goals from James Ward-Prowse, especially the first one. The trademark second one with his free kick that we all know he can do, but the first one is a brilliant finish. It really, really is. But some very good individual performances as well. I don't think we've mentioned him too much, but I thought Shaletta Shah was excellent today. The amount of times he won headers, first contacts, was in the right place, read the game very, very well, and has that little bit more experience and seemed to have settled into the team now. Midfield players broke the play out well, could have been better in possession at times, but did the dirty things well, did the basics well, won second balls, broke play up and tried to get the ball to the more creative players. So a really effective away performance. And I think Nathan will look at that and analyse that and think, Bazuna's not really had any really saves to make, a few crosses, a few punches, which you would expect as the away team. But I thought Southampton fully deserved that and started the game pretty even first half. But the second half, I thought Southampton were excellent. So all smiles here and nice to talk about a Southampton win and three wins in a row. So credit to the players and credit to Nathan Jones. Brilliant performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to discussing the major talking points throughout the show. But Adam, before we do that, let's get your overall thoughts on today's performance and how pleasing was it to see us come from behind to take all 3 points?
Oh, very pleasing. And I think what else was pleasing was I'm not sure who else felt it, but I kind of, apart from maybe a couple of minutes after they conceded, I kind of felt all game as if Saints were like almost holding something back. Like it felt like much more controlled than they have been, and I felt like they were likely to go on and win that game. Now Everton were poor; they are a poor team by Premier League standards these days. Southampton looked like a team that were probably, despite obviously the Man City win, you can't manufacture the confidence of half a season in 1 week. And so they were also lacking a little bit of confidence, but it just went to show what a difference it makes when you have a team that are committed, that work hard for something, and then you have a player of just outstanding quality in the team. Very much reminded me the throwback we're talking about 1997. Matt Letizia obviously scored in that game at Goodison Park, and it reminded me of watching those teams where Saints were avoiding relegation because they had a team of committed players who would put their bodies on the line, and then they had a player who was just above and beyond the quality of any of those teams around them could have. And that's what they had in Matt in those days, and that's what they've got in Prowsey these days. And we talked about the Man City game before this match and how, as a captain and as a leader, he really stepped up again for his team then, and he's done it here on a massively important stage. It's one win in the league, one more win. They're still bottom of the table, so it's not time to start getting complacent. But let's be fair, up until a week ago, we couldn't quite have believed that we'd be talking the way we are today. So let's kind of bask in it for a little while, make the most of it. And now there's this opportunity with this momentum that they've built to really, really dig themselves out of the hole, because they've compressed the table today. And that is absolutely as crucial as just getting a win on the board.
Well, Southampton did go behind in the match with Amadou and Nana's goal separating the sides at half-time, Dean. It's another goal conceded from a set piece as well. That's 3 in 2 Premier League away games, so I can't imagine Nathan Jones is going to be too happy about that.
No, Steve, it's something that he'll be looking to improve upon. One thing that you don't want to be as a team is weak from set piece in defending wide and conceding goals from set pieces. It's something that should be, well, will be worked hard in training. Players are explained and they identify the strengths of the opposition, of where the ball's going to be, runs of certain people, where blocks are going to be. So you have all the information. But yeah, it's just a matter of, I think Nathan's introduced something a little bit different to the players, so it may take a little bit more time. But apart from the goal they conceded from that set piece, I thought they defended crosses and other set pieces very, very well. So I believe it can work, and I believe it can be effective defensively for Southampton. But the goal is just, again, it's a little bit of an individual error. I think Salisu is the player that is in that area where he's meant to attack the ball. So he's almost a non-marker. It's almost zonal marking, with Elanusi trying to just put Unana off to stop him getting a free header, but he's not quite strong enough and doesn't quite do it enough. And Salisu, I think he just misjudges the flight of the ball and mistimes his jump, and almost looks like a free header. So that will be the disappointment. It will, because when you're in games like this, we talked about how important the game was. You don't want to lose the game from a set piece, and you want to get those basics. They are basics. You want to get those basics right. But from that moment on, what is good to see and is a positive, that there was many more set pieces, there was many more crosses, and I don't think Everton looked a threat from that point. So I'm sure it was spoken about at half time. I'm sure the players took the message on and took a little bit more responsibility and were a bit more aggressive in their defending. And on most occasions, they won the first contact from set pieces. I can't remember too many, maybe one in the second half where Godfrey maybe should score at the back post. But it's something that needs to improve, Steve. You're right. But I did think I saw the improvement as the game progressed. And so from a negative, I think that becomes a positive. So it needs to stop because you're almost giving goals away. But I think you can see there's been some work on it from Nathan and the players on the training ground.
Adam, we spoke about James Ward-Prowse before the match. Now, of course, he hit the post in the final minute of the first half, but he certainly made no mistake in the first minute of the second, did he?
No, and it was, what a quality finish. I mean, there's not a striker in the Premier League, even at the very best strikers in the Premier League, that wouldn't be pleased with the quality of the finish, because it's not just, a case of receiving the ball and hitting a shot. It's the turn inside that is just absolutely sublime in terms of quality. In fact, he might be the only player in the Saints squad who could have pulled that off. And for a guy who doesn't play as a striker, it's absolutely remarkable, and it's a sign of his quality. Dee mentioned it. Saints, at times they did play quite direct today. They didn't really follow exactly from the first whistle the template of how they played against Man City, which was a little bit of a surprise, but maybe was more about the circumstance of the actual game they were playing today, the match itself and the magnitude of it, the fact that they knew that they probably wanted to frustrate Everton early on. But that direct play, ball in there, the header from Adams is excellent, very well directed, and then Ward-Prowse does the rest. It's absolutely clinical. It's not necessarily the type of goal that you would necessarily associate with James immediately when you think about his goal scoring range, but it just goes to show the strings to his bow that he's continually adding, and that's what these top quality players do. They don't stand still, and that's the difference between them and a lot of the rest. They have the ability and more than that, the desire as well to continue to improve, to continue to be able to do different things. At times today, Ward-Prowse was pretty much playing as a second striker at times during the game, which is, something you could never have imagined a few years ago, that he could possibly do that. And yet here he is, not only doing it, but scoring the goals that are providing big wins like this. And it's just massive credit to him and his not only quality, but his motivation to keep improving.
Indeed, and the fans watching online from around the globe have been giving Prowsey their love on our comments, as well as the rest of the team as well. Sally Sue on Twitter says Jones has this team fighting for the badge, and that's all we ask. What a win. Jack on YouTube also says, what a win. Also, Christine Crockford on YouTube. She loves her Saints. Andy Sear says Villa look very beatable at the moment as well. That's looking ahead to our next game. Ian Tracy on Facebook says, Prowsey, we love you, captain, fantastic. Ryan Ackland says Nathan Jones is going to keep us up and lift the Carabao Cup. And then Russ Ward has also said JWP, man of the match, and he's liking him in a more advanced role. Well, Dean, on that, how are you liking James in a more attacking role, and also what composure for his first goal?
Well, it's a position that I didn't realise he could play. Obviously, we know what a player he is, a midfield player he is, but he has all the attributes to play there. One thing he does have is really good awareness, James. So he's intelligent in terms of picking up good positions to get either a shot off a goal or pick the right pass in the situation, which he did on many occasions today. But brilliant, he's finished for the first goal. For me, it's the awareness to where to run into, the timing of the run as well. The first touch is phenomenal, really, and then the second touch to almost slow himself down and the composure to get it in the position to just slot it into the corner. The biggest compliment you can give him in that moment is he made it look very, very easy and very natural. We know the quality he has from set pieces, but I thought he had a really good game in the first half where he has a strike. Pickford makes a good save. Again, it's just an intelligent run and seeing the space. He has, again, you've got to have the engine and the fitness and the willingness to do that. He has that. He had some lovely touches at times. He recognises when to play one touch, maybe when to take a touch, whether to have a strike at goal. And I think the more and more he plays in that position, the more confident he will get. We know he can score goals, but like Adam said, he's adding different types of goals to his game that we probably haven't seen before. So it's brilliant. It really, really is. And Nathan touched on it, I think, during the week, that how much admiration he has for Prowsey and that he could play in any position. And he has played in a number of positions for Southampton. But at times, when he has to drop in and do those defensive duties as captain, he will. He still got on the ball at times and came in and had good possession and switched play. So he had a really effective game. And again, Southampton's performance today was effective, and Prowsey was really effective today. And he's a big game player, and he stepped up when he's needed, and that's why he's captain. So I'm enjoying him playing in that position, and long may it continue, because if he can pick up goals like he's doing. And one thing I've seen as well, which maybe he looks like he's really encouraging other players. If a player makes mistakes, he's the one that's applauding them, or probably maybe he's saying, look, it's okay, keep going. He's leading by example in his performances, but he looks a little bit more vocal and a little bit more positive. And that will come from confidence from him and him feeling good about himself. But I think that will also help his game. So, yeah, really good performance from James today.
Well, that first goal was goal number 50 for James, and goal number 51 was soon to follow. Adam, could you please talk us through that absolutely wonderful free kick?
I mean, what's crazy about the free kicks now, Kenzie, is that you almost expect it. It's weird. It's so strange because you actually look at it in isolation and you think, wow, what quality this is here. And yet it doesn't take you by surprise anymore. And again, I mean, I'm going to just do this comparison once again, I think, but it does remind me of Matt again, where you got to the point where any free kick around 25 yards, you suddenly look at it and think a genuine chance. As whereas for most teams, you think, oh, that's a nice place to win a free kick. Maybe they'll score the odd one in a season here and there. Now you look at it and think, well, that's a chance. It's not quite, but you feel like it's not that far off getting a penalty sometimes. It's with the quality that he possesses. And that one, another beauty. I mean, there are going to be some questions asked about Everton's wall and Pickford's positioning there. That's for sure, because I don't think they've covered themselves in any glory particularly, but the quality to get it up, over and down into that near post area, it is completely what's done for them. Yes, Everton should probably have done better, and pretty inexcusable for Pickford to be kind of that rooted. It's not, the ball's either going to go up and over or it's going to go to his side. You kind of got to have some ability to move, not just to your side, I feel, but nonetheless, the quality of the strike is completely what's done it again. And I guess the ability again for Prowse to look at that, I think, and assess immediately, look at the wall, look at the setup, look at the goalkeeper, and think to himself, where is the place that I can put this ball that is most likely to get me a goal? And that's the difference between him and a lot of players. A lot of players are looking at where the ball is and thinking, what's my best chance of getting this on target? So they would probably start that ball outside the edge of the wall and try and curl it around, even when it's to the goalkeeper's side, because their quality is that's what I can do. Is whereas he can actually pick a spot and find a way to execute getting it there, whether that's up and down, whether it's round, whether it's outside. He's got all of that in his locker, and that makes him, I think, very, very hard to defend against, and it's why he's scoring so many goals from set pieces.
Well, that's 3 wins in a row now for Southampton across all competitions, which I'm not sure many people would have saw coming, Dean. What do you think that the Saints' dressing room will be like just now?
A good place to be in, Steve. There'll be lots of smiles, I'm sure. There'll be lots of pats on the back, and rightly so. You have to enjoy these moments. And 3 wins in a row is not easy to do, especially at this level. And I know the 2 previous fixtures have been cup games, but they've been against Premier League teams in Crystal Palace, and obviously Man City are one of the best teams in the world, and then a very good away performance today. So look, it'll be good, and I'm sure Nathan will be congratulating the players, but also there will be, I'm sure, an awareness to the players that this is the start. This is the start now. This is the platform where they can build and try and move up the table. There's going to be challenges along the way. I'm sure there will be hiccups because this is a young team and they're still learning. Nathan's a young manager and he's still learning in his career, and especially at this level. But I think today, he should take a lot of credit, the manager, because that little tweak at half-time where you put Salisu at left back, Cole Capi just goes to the right-hand side, the 3 midfielders where the first half we had 2 holding midfield players, Lavia plays a little bit further forward, so Diallo sits, and you have 2 more advanced midfield players. Those little tweaks and there's little things that the coaches and the managers spot can make a huge difference. And Southampton scored at good times as well, but I thought they were excellent second half. So it will be a better journey home on the bus than they've had in a while, and I'm sure the players will be looking forward to going in Monday morning if they get a day off tomorrow. And this is what victories do. They build confidence, they build momentum, they put smiles on your face, and you look forward to playing football. So I'm excited because I think this can be the start. And there looks a real togetherness now and more of an understanding. There's more development, more improvement, but there's more of an understanding. I think we all maybe questioned that at the beginning of when Nathan coming in. We couldn't quite see what direction they were going in. But I think over the last few games, we can see that. So as long as that keeps improving, I think Southampton are going to be okay.
Well, that win sees us move up to 15 points, level on points with Everton. We are, of course, still in the relegation zone. But Adam, just how important are those 3 points in the grand scheme of things?
Well, there's 2 things to consider really. One is the 3 points, and the other is just the win in itself, whether it's against Everton or it was against any other team. When you've only won 3 games out of 18 in the league, winning itself is a rare thing at that point in time, and you need it. Obviously, that goes without saying. But it's not just because of it provides the 3 points, but it's because of the confidence, it's because of the morale, it's because of the feeling of momentum, the feeling of relief, those feelings that Dean described in the dressing room, getting the players to feel that again. And remind them of what that is like and how good that is and how worth their extra effort, that extra little bit of effort to make that little extra run or that last block where you can just stretch that little bit more. All those things, it kind of feels more worthwhile. When you look at it then in isolation of the game and the table itself right now, when the final whistle blows, Saints are still bottom. But there's now, with the results today, that a lot of the bottom teams are playing each other. There's now 2 points between the bottom 7, and that means that's 2 points is nothing. there's basically 7 teams who are basically, because halfway through the season, they've got a whole half the season to play. They're basically level, really. And that means that there's a lot of teams that have now been dragged into this properly, that probably felt until a few weeks ago that they were kind of not doing great, but they were out of it. Well, they're in it now. Some of these teams are in it big time who didn't expect to be there. So now there's this is the make or break half of the season. And I think by compressing the table, thanks to that win today, Saints have now put a lot of pressure on a lot of other teams. And I think that is absolutely crucial. It's not only the upward momentum for Saints, because as Dean rightly says, this is a team, like as great as this is a team who's won 4 games in the first half of the season. We hope they can do a lot better in the second half of the season, but it's still going to be up and down. You can't expect them to suddenly win 10 games in the second half of the season. That's going to be very, very hard to achieve. So there probably is still going to be some ups and downs. But the fact that there are other teams now feeling that pressure, I think is going to be absolutely crucial. And there's going to be some huge battles coming up, because there's so many teams that are involved now. They've all got to play each other. Again, there's going to be so many games. This table is going to shift around a lot, I would guess, between now and the end of the season. And the most important thing for Saints is, if they were in any danger a couple of weeks ago after the Forest defeat of looking like they might get cut adrift, they're definitely not cut adrift now. They are back in it with a bang.
Well, before we look ahead to our next fixture, let's get a few more comments from our fans tuning in. Phil Palmer says, unbelievable turnaround today. Neither side leaving anything on the pitch. Mark Pollard, also on YouTube, says, thank you, Nathan Jones. You made every Saints fans weekend, and we're the boys in red and white. Also, Morgan Waller said, we march on. Ken Child says, 6 months of nail biting in one game. And Andy Burden on Facebook says, best week in a long time. Bring on the Villa. Well, on that, Dean, it is Aston Villa next Saturday. What are your early thoughts ahead of that one?
An important game, Steve. You know, if you can back up a really good victory and performance like today with another victory, it makes a huge difference in the Premier League. Back-to-back wins is massive, especially as it's a home game. Can they replicate the performance against Man City at home? Create that environment again at St Mary's would be brilliant. And a game that Southampton can definitely win. You know, Aston Villa are improved, but they're still a developing team and they can be beaten. So, yeah, looking forward to it. But again, Southampton can be competitive against anyone in this league, can beat anyone in this league. They've proved that. And I'd like to see St Mary's come a little bit of a fortress again. And we build from here. You know, it's been 3 brilliant wins. It looks like the direction or the tide of the momentum has changed for Southampton. So continue that. Really continue that. Good week in training, and then take the game to Aston Villa. Don't wait and see what they bring. Take the game to them and try and win it. So, yeah, looking forward to the game.
Yeah, confidence levels will certainly be the highest they've been in some time, Adam. How do you think Southampton will fare when we welcome Aston Villa next weekend?
Well, I agree with Dean, improving but vulnerable. That's Villa really at the moment, and they've got to come to St Mary's and face a team that have won 3 games in a row. Southampton, obviously, as we discussed, aren't out of it, but for the first time in a long time, they're going to go into a game feeling not quite under as much pressure, and with a crowd that are going to be right behind them. And they haven't had that for a little while. It hasn't really been like that. And I think the message from Nathan Jones really should be to the players, rewind to the day before we played Crystal Palace. Everything before that, forget it. It's done. It's gone. That's it. It's in the record books. There's nothing we can do about it. It doesn't matter anymore. Look at what we've done since then. Look at where we're headed as a team. Look at our unity. Look at the quality. Look at the style that we're developing. This is where we're going. This is the direction that we're moving in. And all that matters is what lay ahead of us, not what's gone before. And I think that would be a powerful message. And I think the importance of Villa, again, you look at the context a little bit, is if they could win that one, then they've got these 3 cup games coming up, including the 2 semi-finals. If they could beat Villa, then they have given themselves the license to have a proper go. at those cups, especially obviously the semi-final, 2 legs of the semi-final, where you really now you've got there. You want to give it your all, but if you lose to Villa, then in the back of your mind you're nervous, because you're nervous coming out the other end about, are the players going to be fatigued? Am I going to pick up injuries in the cup because the league's so important? If you get that win against Villa, they're going to feel like we're going the right way. We're going to be the ones that climb out of this, and therefore you can really give yourself a run at those cup games and have a proper hit at them. And so I think, for Saints' point of view, I think they can beat Villa. I hope they will beat Villa, and I feel like that's why it's really important for them that they do, because then I think those League Cup games become very much more winnable for them, because they can really just focus on them and worry about everything else later.
Great stuff. Well, Adam and Dean, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. 3 important points for Southampton and a first Premier League win for Nathan Jones. Next up, it is Aston Villa on Saturday the 21st. We'll be back then with another Saints Live. So take care and we'll see you soon.
Bye for now.